Yeah, so today the topic which has been assigned to me is the hydraulic design calculations for minor bridges. And Khare Saab has actually covered quite a lot. He has actually covered even the what you call the RBF 16 method, which we use for the smaller size catchment for the minor bridges. Now in this session, I will try to cover the classification of the bridges as per the IRS substructure code, the hydraulic design considerations, flood estimation methods, the catchment characteristics, rainfall characteristics, design discharge by the RBF 16 method with the help of an actual example to elaborate the practical approach, significance of the fraud number, and minor bridge proportioning and sighting. Now as per the basically this presentation I will make with reference to the railway practice as such. But the principles are applicable equally for the road bridges, and anyway, basically the structures are over the river. So the railway practice is to classify the bridges as important, major and minor. Important bridges are those with the linear waterway more than 300 meters or a total waterway of more than 1000 square meters. Major bridges are those with linear waterways more than 18 meters or a clear opening of 12 meters in any one of the span. And minor bridges are actually all other bridges which not finding any classifications under 1 and 2 will be classified as minor. Now small catchment size of bridge openings range from 0.5 to 30 meter. However, majority of the cases the size of opening would be less than 15 meters. We will have a broad overview of the hydraulic design considerations. Generally, we start basically when we plan a bridge, then we have to first identify a suitable location where we want to basically construct the bridge. First is of course the functional requirement where we need sometimes to cross some deep gorge or something like that. After a location has been identified for river bridges, two aspects come into the picture, which is the design discharge and the return period. Now, return period, as Khare Saab told, as per the railway codes, it is a 50-year return period which we take. For important bridges, it can be higher also. Now, once optimal location, alignment, and design has been done, after estimating a discharge, we calculate the linear waterway, the velocity, the depth of the score, and assess the river draining works. After doing this, you can make a basic design of the bridge and the piers and the foundations so that you can arrive at the general alignment drawing of the general, or the general plan of the whole bridge. If this design is acceptable, then it can be adopted for the final detailed structural design of the bridge. Now, there are different kinds of bridges, like say we have a city flyover or a railway flyover crossing a road or a metro bridge crossing a railway line. All these structures, they have defined termination points, or you can say starting and ending points. But in case of river bridges, we are dealing with planning of a bridge over a hurdle, which itself is actually sort of unknown, because this discharge, which we say design discharge, it is basically only an estimate. If there is an underestimate, then the project is likely to be irrelevant in future. If there is an overestimate, then we are going to land up with huge cost. So an optimal hydraulic design will lead to also an optimal structural design. Now this presentation we will do with reference to a minor bridge, which we had this Vardhan Mandate project, is a 100-kilometer railway line, where there are a number of minor bridges. All these minor bridges are characterized by box bridges, which are either single cell or two cell bridges. Now in this, two terms are important. One is the barrel length of the bridge. This barrel length of the bridge is decided by the cushion or the formation level above the ground level actually. So the cushion will define the length of the bridge. Important another thing is the freeboard. The freeboard is the formation level minus the HFL. and the clearance which we normally provide as per the codal requirement. Now, the general hydraulic particulars which we intend to ultimately arrive at after doing a hydraulic design is the linear waterway, the high flood level and the low water level, the depth of the score, the clearances, the efflux, the freeboard, full supply level, and proposed river training works. So this is basically the ultimate output of our hydraulic study. Now there are various flood estimation methods, and these are all basically estimates. So there are statistical analysis methods, then there are unit hydrograph approach methods, and for catchments area having area less than 25 square kilometer, the RDSO report is there for RBF 16. Now this gives a improved rational formula, and we are discussing particularly this more in detail. We are dealing with catchments less than 25 square kilometer in this. So what is a small catchment? Now this term has not been defined specifically, but it has bearing on the size of the bridge opening, the size of the drainage area, the predominance of the surface runoff, the response time of how quickly the channel is filling, and the influence of rainfall characteristics is more on a smaller catchment. So what does a discharge depend on? Basically, a discharge depends on the catchment and the rainfall and their characteristics. So, like, what is a catchment area? The catchment area is the area of the land from which the runoff comes into a stream. This is called a catchment area of the stream. Further, the area of land draining into a stream or water course at a given location is also known as a catchment area. Catchment, there will be number of catchments, and these are separated from the neighboring areas by a ridge, or which are called divides or watershed boundaries. What are the routes for the runoff? The runoff can have an overland flow, which is called a surface runoff, or through a stream it will further go below the ground and maybe contribute to another stream in another catchment. So a small catchment will generally have a uniform distribution of rainfall for the time equal to the time of concentration. The flood stage rises quickly and it attains a peak in a very short time. The nature of the soil, slope and vegetation would generally be such that it would not be delaying the runoff, because in a smaller catchment you don't expect the soil, slope and vegetation to differ very drastically. The time of concentration is also very small, and then we need unit hydrographs of very small unit duration. Now such data of small intervals are generally not available, and then we use the RBF 16 proposed method. Now catchment characteristics, catchment factors which affect the overall estimate of the discharge is the slope of the catchment area. Steeper the slope, higher the runoff. Then vegetation, the vegetation will slow down the runoff and give more time for infiltration into the soil. Then the geology of the surface, whether it is of absorptive type of soil, or if it is clay, or if it is rocky, then the runoff will then increase. Then there is also an error sometimes caused in estimation of discharge due to leakage of adjacent catchment, and you may have contributions from another catchment which actually is not being calculated by us when we are making our estimate of the discharge. Generally, catchments are classified like hilly, and then there are characteristics where you have like two ridges and then the U's pointing to each other, and that would indicate a saddle between two sort of rising hills. These catchments can be found out from the topo sheets as well as from the websites which Kares have suggested for Survey of India and the Bhuvan website. Now, how do we delineate a catchment on a topo sheet? This is very important. When we are identifying a stream, we try to locate the highest point of each stream or tributary. Now, general rule will be that the topography line will always point upstream. So, in this example, the flow is from A to B, and if we are going on connecting, then we reach to the highest point. Now, if we demarcate all these highest points, we can mark the catchment on the topo sheet. These are another characteristics of contour, which actually try to define the catchment areas, where if the contour lines are closely spaced, it would indicate a steep slope. If the contour lines are far away spaced, then there's gentle slopes. You can have a spacing when going from high to low, the slope is concave. And if the spacing decreases when going from high to low, then it is convex. And if contour lines are uniformly or evenly spaced, then you have a uniform slope. We can use the Google Earth also to identify, particularly it helps in the small catchments. You can use the Google Earth to demarcate, delineate a catchment, as also find out the difference between the highest point and the lowest or the outlet of the catchment, which is used for calculation of the time of concentration. Now we come to the rainfall characteristics. The rainfall is basically characterized by the rainfall intensity, the rainfall duration, the distribution or the areal distribution of the rainfall, the time distribution of the rainfall, and the direction of the storm of the or the rain with respect to the catchment. The concept of isochrones is used for understanding the effect of duration of a uniform rainfall on the shape of hydrographs. So, of course, hydrographs is not the topic of this particular session, but we'll just introduce what are isochrones. These are imaginary lines across the catchment from where the water particles are going to take the same time to reach the catchment outlet. So if for a particular rainfall event starting 0, when the hydrograph at the catchment outlet goes on rising, after a time delta t, one isochrone would have been filled up. Then after delta t, your A1 is contributing. Similarly, in 4 delta t, all the catchments would have contributed, and further than that, the hydrograph would then reach a plateau. Another term which is used in this calculations is the time of concentration. Now, what is the time of concentration? The time of concentration for a drainage area is the time required by the water to reach the outlet from the most remote point on the drainage area or the catchment. So if A is the farthest point on the catchment, the time taken by the rainfall to reach from A to the outlet point will be called the time of concentration. This is also sometimes known as the time of flow or the travel time, that is the time taken by water to reach the catchment outlet from different points in the catchment. The flow time for remote points will be more, and for those which are nearer will have a smaller time of flow. Now, a typical river system may have contribution to its discharge from a number of catchments. And this catchment may be each in turn varying by like large size. So at every point, say you have different streams or tributaries contributing, and this all then add up to reach to a particular maybe larger stretch or a larger river where all these things are contributing. And we are actually trying to focus on to the smaller catchment or the smaller point of interest. What is the definition of the design discharge? What they for hydraulic design investigations, estimation of the design discharge is to be based wherever possible or evolved from hydrometeorological observations of the same or similar catchments. The substructure, the IRS substructure code specifies a 50-year return period for the flood estimation and the discharge estimation. The discretion rests with the principal chief engineer or the chief bridge engineer to change the recurrence interval depending on the importance of the bridge or importance of the line. Now we will go take a step-by-step this procedure or how to evaluate or how to estimate the discharge for the catchments which are less than 25 square kilometer, particularly for the minor bridges. So we first identify the location of the bridge and then find out the sub-zone where it is lying. We have to examine all the field data, like assembling all the data from the topograph maps, the satellite images and Google Earth contributions, whatever we can get, the type of soil and the annual flood observations and the meteorological data available for the particular site. Then for minor bridges, the hydraulic calculations, the slope of water surface or the energy line over a distance of 10 to 20 times the channel bed is more than adequate for establishing our estimates for the discharge. In the field investigation, we try to find out what is the kind of the bed material so that we can estimate the runoffs from the proper coefficients and also the local bends, meandering and turns of the channel. Now, we'll discuss the RBF 16 procedure in brief. So, the RBF 16 procedure basically gives the equation for the design discharge as 0.278 CIA. Now, most of the formulas are basically with these three terms only. One is the runoff coefficient, other is the intensity of the rainfall, and the third item is the catchment area. And the discharge is basically directly proportional to that. So there are many formulas, different empirical formulas. Then this unit hydrograph methods, RBF 16, this modified rational formula and improved rational formula. Basically, all these formulas, the principle is that discharge is proportional to CIA, and that is your coefficient, intensity, and area of the runoff, area of the catchment. So we will discuss further this equations with respect to a particular bridge in our Vardhan-Nanded line, where this we had a bridge with a small bridge, one of the many bridges in that line, with two openings and a span length of 4.5 meters and height of 4 meters. So the runoff coefficient depends upon the nature of the soil cover, and the location of the catchment. It is generally expressed as a coefficient times RF raised to 0.2. R is the 50-point rainfall, 50 with the 50-year return period for 24 hours. F is the aerial reduction factor, and this coefficient K depends varies from 0.249 to 0.498 depending on the soil type and the location. So what is the effect of this K? So if you have the soils which are absorptive in nature, sandy soils and others, they have a low K. So you will have a low runoff basically, because more of the water will be lost in by infiltration into the ground. Now if you have clay or rocky or other kind of barren, this kind of terrain, then the K value will be high to more like 0.456, 0.498, thereby increasing the C value and hence correspondingly the estimate of the discharge. For Vardhan-Nanded, we had black cotton clay soil and we had used K value as 0.456. Then the aerial reduction factor, it depends upon the duration of the rainfall and the catchment area. So for small values, it moves in a narrow band of 0.7 to 0.85. For smaller catchment, smaller duration rainfall, it is 0.7 to 0.71, and at the largest point it goes to 0.85. If no description of catchment terrain is available, then we can use also sometimes a general formula which is recommended by again RBF 16, that is 0.537 R50 TC 0.179 raised to and TC raised to minus zero point 0.1. The time of concentration is worked out using the Bhatnagar's formula. One of the Indian scientists who had worked on this originally, and that RBF 16 has adopted that, finding it to be most effective. The TC is L2 by H is to 0.345. L is the length, like the distance from where the highest point to the lowest point, and H is the height difference between the highest point to the lowest point. The country has been divided into various subzones where all the meteorological data are available, and the basins are also identified with the rivers basically. So which river gets a major contribution from which basin. So we have this our Chankal River, Ganga, Brahmaputra, Sabarmati, Narmada, Godavari, Krishna, Kavari, etc. Our lies in this zone, subzone 3A, which is the Godavari basin, lower Godavari basin. Now there are also charts by the CWC and the flood estimation reports, where we have the point rainfall available for 24 hours all India, as also for the subzones. We have also rainfall because all these are used in the calculation for working out the intensity. So we have point rainfall with 50-year written period for 1 hour duration, and also the point rainfall for 24-hour duration with a 50-year written period. So, for example, for this particular location of Vardhan Nagpur, rainfall comes to 25 centimeter per hour, around 250 mm. 24 hours. To evaluate the estimate of the discharge, we need to have the point rainfall for the TC hour duration, that is our time of concentration for the 50-year written period. This can be done by reading the TCH ratio from the figure 4, which is given in the RBF 16. So for a TC value, which in our case which we work out from LCQ by H is to 0.3, we get a TC of 0.48, and corresponding to that, this ratio comes to 0.25, and the 1 hour ratio comes to 0.38. So you get the conversion ratio, which is the TCH ratio divided by 1 hour ratio, and then the point rainfall for TC hours duration can be worked out by multiplying this conversion ratio to the point rainfall for 1 hour duration. And then we can arrive at our intensity of the rainfall in mm per hour, which we are using for estimation of the discharge, and which is equal to the point rainfall for TC hours duration divided by the time of concentration. Now, going ahead beyond the RBF 16, what we did is validate this discharge using the Mannix formula. What is the Mannix formula? Is basically Q by A is R raised to 2 by 3, S raised to square root of S divided by N. R is the hydraulic mean radius, S is the slope, and N is the viscosity coefficient. So we get the velocity from this based on our assumed depth of water flow and the slope of our channel or our box, and the viscosity coefficient which we are taking here in this case for the concrete bed. So we get a velocity from here. This we match with the RBF 16 determined discharge, and both these velocities are matched. If this match, then the estimate is accepted. Otherwise, we do a trial with different depths till we are able to match this discharge. So this calculations of all the hydraulic calculation for various bridges can be tabulated, where all the important parameters are then listed down, and this is generally done for this major lines where all major structures, they are tabulated so that at a glance for different bridges all the important hydraulic particulars are available at a glance. Now another term which is important here for flow of the stream through a box is the concept of the Froude number. The Froude number is basically the mean velocity divided by the square root of Gy, where G is the acceleration due to gravity and Y is the characteristic depth of the flow. When F is less than 1, it is a subcritical flow. F is more than 1, it is a critical flow. F is more than 1, it is a supercritical flow. What is the significance of this F? A study was done for a small bridge. So of course, it cannot be generalized, but qualitatively to understand what is the significance of this Froude number. If a Froude number is much less than 1, then there is a possibility that the wave from the downstream can propagate to the upstream. So normally a flow is from the upstream. So then the upstream is in a hydraulic communication with the downstream. Such flows are also having a efflux which is low and velocity also is low. So F much less than 1 is also not a very recommended value. If F is more than 1, the wave of course cannot propagate to the upstream, and the upstream is not in hydraulic communication with the downstream, but the efflux will be high and velocity will be high, which is also not again a recommended situation. So generally a 0.5 to 1 ratio for a Froude number is considered to be acceptable. So here for this particular bridge in our case, once we have estimated our estimate of the discharge using the RBF 16 came to 74 Qmax, the calculated velocity which we match with the Manning's formula and the discharge by area method. So basically velocity was determined from Manning's formula as well as from the RBF 16 calculated discharge. And with this, the Froude number which came was 0.939, which is less than 1, and hence it was accepted. Also the height of water which was calculated based on the depth of flow came to 1.99 meter, whereas the clearance which was given for the bridge was 4 meters. So that was also okay. A maximum water level or the calculated HFL then becomes the bed level upon the height of the water calculated. And the formation level required is then the bed level plus the height of water plus slab thickness plus the vertical clearance. All this put together, which would give us a minimum formation level, which is less than the adopted. How do we proportion our minor bridges? So the box openings are generally kept higher than what may be ultimately required based upon the hydraulic calculation. Though often seen even hydraulic calculations of course sometimes can go wrong based on the so many unknown factors which we discussed earlier. But the general practice is whatever the theoretical calculations or estimate which we have made, we try to keep a box opening which is slightly or suitably higher than what was required. This is for so that many times this bridges are also used as a transport by local rural population, and these structures are also kept at around 700 to 800 meter intervals along the center line of the track formation to alleviate the transport hardship, and also it also addresses the because basically all we are dealing is with the smaller catchment. So these bridges are then basically covering all those contributions from various different kinds of smaller catchments. For catchment areas which are larger than 25 square kilometer, the discharge can be arrived by the unit hydrograph method already explained by Paresa, and the handbook, the same RBF 16 is followed, and the overall procedure, etc., remain the same. Now, actual siting of the box. What are the aspects which are considered here? What is done is to identify the lowest bed level on the upstream side. This is considered to be the natural ground level. And then the invert level of the top surface of the bottom slab of the bridge barrel is kept 300 mm below the natural ground level. So with this, what is happening is that the natural ground, the invert level of the bridge as well as the natural ground level is below the lowest point in the plan area of the box at the upstream end. So the hydraulic communication from downstream to upstream side is precluded by adopting this approach. The slope of the bottom surface of the top surface of the bottom slab is generally kept at 1 in 100, generally uniformly for all minor bridges. Once the openings, etc., are found to be adequate, then the structural dimensions and the reinforcements of these bridges are generally taken as per the standard RDSO drawings. So this is the layout of this bridge, minor bridge, with 2 cell and a barrel length of approximately, here in this case, depending on the formation level, it was coming to around 30 meters. So I have tried to expedite, and I hope I have been able to elaborate some basic concepts which are considered for estimating a design discharge, and given some practical tips for doing a calculation of a minor bridge hydraulic calculation.